Welcome to another episode of the Unnamed Sports Podcast. I am Brian.
I'm Rob.
So today we're going to be talking about the baseball rules, the changing of the rules. We're going to do a little bit of like some free agency quarterback talk, and then we'll finish off with the NBA. So yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
Baseball's new rules.
So I have the new rules here, so I'm just going to read them. I took them right off of the MLB website. So 15 seconds between pitches when the bases are empty. 20 seconds with runners on base. Hitter receives one timeout per plate appearance, which is all good stuff.
Yeah.
And the average MLB inning game time reduced by 26 minutes.
That's for an inning. Is that,
no, a 9-inning game.
A 9-inning game is reduced by 26 minutes.
So a half an hour.
That's great.
That is great. But these are a couple other things. So there's the bases are bigger. They were 15 inches square. Now they're 18 inches square, which is pretty hilarious. And then the last one is the shift restriction. 2 fielders must be positioned on either side of second base when the pitch is released. So you can run as the guy's throwing the pitch over to the other side.
Yeah.
But you have to start off with. And all 4 infielders must have both feet on the infield dirt when the pitcher is on the rubber.
Okay. I mean, honestly, should we start at the top, or should we just start with the
top? Start at the top.
So what's the first one? The first one was
the pitch timers. Just, and that's all good. I think that's good. Once somebody's in the box, they don't need to adjust their bat and gloves every pitch.
No more Garcia was the guy.
I know. And there was a lot of them, but he's the poster child for all that.
But I think it's necessary. Baseball, we're living in different times.
Yes.
We live in times where I ain't got time. I could be watching baseball, cooking dinner, building a house. I could be doing all these things at once now in today's
It is perfect
world.
for a split screen.
Yeah.
Watching 3 things at once. You check in an NBA game and you can watch baseball at the same time.
Yeah.
And you don't miss a pitch.
Well, because it's all nowadays you miss every pitch.
I know, it's true.
But the thing was, it's funny because I think like before spring training started, people were wondering, how are players going to react to this? And so there's certain players like Manny Machado who's like, I'm not changing. I'm playing the way I play. And that's funny though, because it's a small group of guys who feel that way. I know a lot of pitchers are probably like, let's just get this going.
Yeah.
And for one, let's move. Let's get this game going.
There's been a couple of pitches, and I can't remember them over the years. They just grab the ball and throw it.
Like Max Scherzer.
There's a lot of guys like that. The problem always is with baseball is first, second, third inning, that's fine. When you get into relief pitches and there's 2 men on, and the crowd is roaring, those relief pitches wait and check and off the rubber and check with the dugout and everything. So there's not going to be that. It's at the end of the game where it's really going to change how it's happening.
Yeah, didn't we see a game was called?
Yes. Because
the guy was taking too long.
Yep.
Or he even thought, I think it was just like kind of an honest mistake.
Yeah.
He called the game. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's not going to happen that often. People are going to kind of get used to it. The people who've been playing in the minors have already been dealing with this. It's going to be interesting, though.
I just hope that you know how in the NBA, in spring training or camp, they call everything. Yeah. Then it starts off, and you see a game, and they call 9 traveling calls, which are real. I agree, because I hate traveling, and they call it all the time. But then when the playoffs come, you can run from half court, and it's okay. You know what I mean?
Because they just want the game to be played.
Is that going to happen in baseball? Are they going to be softer on the rules when it comes to playoff time in October?
Yeah, and that'll be interesting because I think you're right. Like those build up, those slow moments that come in the playoff games where it's like this guy's coming in, there's 2 men on, he's looking him off. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the batter, I feel like more. I mean, but now, moving on to these other rules, they're doing other things to kind of make it more fair.
They want people to steal bases. They want, stuff on the base paths.
Hence
That's
the bigger,
all.
yeah.
That's all interesting stuff that we don't do anymore. And then the other thing is that the game has changed with the designated hitter,
Mm-hmm.
with the pitcher being a weak person with a bat and bunting and sacrificing. And what I love American League Baseball, but I also used to love National League Baseball, where it was so interesting to watch how the managers worked. You're saving that second catcher because you don't know, and all that kind of stuff. I really like that. So it's going to be good.
I think that, well, this was the first one was the changing of the time. And the second one is it the bigger bases?
The bigger bases.
So yeah, with the bigger bases that are now gigantic, these big saucer bases.
Oh my gosh.
And I think but you want to see action.
Yes.
And all these rules do is keep the action moving. Like I said, we live in a world right now where nobody can pay attention for more than about 5 seconds. Honestly, people watching this have already kind of drifted away.
I saw this. It was a cartoon, and the guy gets to first base, and they take up this giant glove that he wears to run the bases, because now he's got the giant base. He's got these gloves. You know what I mean? He only needs to take 3 steps and he can touch the bag. It's pretty funny.
But I think the bases is understandable. It's also probably going to reduce injuries and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I think the one that that I like the most is the shift rule.
Yes.
Because now we can actually see base hits again. Mm-hmm. With these, the way things have been going, if you're a lefty, there's like 1 million people on one side, and you're never getting a base hit.
I know all those. Then you also see everybody's on one side, and you have your best home run hitter
trying to bunt
it down to third baseline.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, just to get on, which you have to do if there's nobody over there. You're like,
go for it.
But it just makes it kind of silly.
Yeah, it does, and we all want to see action.
And that's analytics, right? It's
that's when analytics makes things boring. Sometimes. And it can also, in football, it's made things exciting because it's like, oh, go for it on 4th down.
Yes.
But in baseball, it's made it very boring. Yep. And it's like, oh, well, we know where this guy hits. We're going to have everybody on the whole field right there, standing there. And I think now, changing it, we might see more action. Just like it's real. Some people don't like it, but the baseball rule that went into effect last season, when we're going into extra innings and you have a person
at second,
that's exciting.
It is.
It's exciting. And baseball it's a long season. It is an insanely long season. And I don't think, I think we want these games to not feel like the season does, which is in eternity. So, and there's people who love baseball.
Yeah.
I like baseball, but it's when I'm getting closer. In the beginning of the year, I couldn't care. I couldn't care less. I got other things to do. I want to be outside.
Yeah.
It's when it starts to get cool, when the playoffs start coming around, and you start getting that action. That's what really matters to me.
You show your age, because as you get older, and my mother-in-law lives with me, and she's 90 something, and her world revolves around the baseball season. It really does. In fact, she watches yesterday's game again. Because she says, because you can live an entire life within a baseball game.
Exactly.
You're doing other things, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
it's
baseball,
kind of funny.
It's the pastime. It's America's pastime. It's that.
Yeah.
It's a sport that I think it has a greater connection with American history than probably any other sport.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but there's no way I'm watching too many full games.
Well, and I guess we can end this segment by saying that they've already booked the parade down in Florida for the Red Sox for being the first undefeated team in spring training history.
I'm sure
they're going to have a parade in Fort Myers.
I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea. All right, so we can move in. So recently, the news came in that Lamar Jackson was going to get the franchise tag. And this is after all this, I don't even know how many months of hearing about Lamar Jackson, who's his own agent, which is in itself kind of a problem.
That's kind of a problem now.
Yeah, because it's at some point, when you have an agent, the agent will say, or look at the market and say, you're comparable to these people. And these people are getting these particular contracts. And therefore, you can get that contract. Well, Lamar Jackson's living in an alternate reality where he saw Deshaun Watson's contract, which makes no sense.
None at all.
Because Deshaun Watson's got a myriad of problems. Like, his football is one thing, but whatever he's doing off the field, going to massage parlors.
I just can't figure out why Cleveland
It doesn't make any
did what they
sense.
did. I have no idea.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Cleveland tends to make these kind of ridiculous decisions. You know, they were Johnny Manziel people. You know, they were Baker Mayfield people. And now they said, you know, this guy's had some problems with the law. And he seems to be a, you know, habitual abuser of women in massage parlors. Bring him on board. Bring him on board. What could go wrong? As long as we don't have any females within like 100-foot radius.
I like Baker Mayfield. I like him as a quarterback. Last year was a nightmare, and the year before that was the year he was like, he broke his collarbone, he broke his arm, and he still went out there and tried to play. He's a fighter, and you know, I just think it didn't work out, but I think they gave up on him.
I think they gave up on him because they thought, oh, Deshaun Watson, like, and they saw what Deshaun Watson did in like the years prior, which was not really anything.
No, he had a lot of weapons when he was in Texas.
Yeah, and they blew a 24-0 lead to the Chiefs.
The Patriots killed him about 10 times. You know,
and so that's the thing. When you look at Lamar Jackson, who's trying to sit there and, you know, get these particular contract, get this big old contract with all this guaranteed money, it doesn't even make any sense because he plays a style that's like, oh, I'm going to give this guy a fully guaranteed contract, and he's going to go out there and get injured. He's built like a string bean, and he runs in a sport where it's like the more you run, the more likely you are to have some kind of severe injury.
Well, I mean, we've seen the running quarterbacks are a necessity. I mean, a lot of teams, they need that because of the way the defense is played. The opening
is going to be the run.
And if you can make that first guy miss,
there's going to be room.
You got 15 yards.
And he's the best at it. He is the best at it.
But it also comes with problems with getting hit so much, holding the ball like a like a loaf of bread and stuff like that. So it makes it difficult. I don't think not any of them are worth the money that they're making. Even in the context of a team, I'm not saying that they're not worth $400 million. What I'm saying is you got to have people to block from. You have to have people to catch the ball, and you have to have the people play defense. I can't give you 30 or 40% of my whole salary for my team to one guy who could be gone in one play. It doesn't make any sense the way that it works.
I think that's the thing that like Joe Burrow will soon come to realize, because he was like, oh, I'll be back. You know, the great thing about the NFL is that you can be back. And it's like, no, you can't, because you'll be back because you're on your rookie contract. You're going to get paid because people want you to be on their team, but you're going to lose some of those things. That's why everybody in the beginning of last season was like, the Chiefs are in trouble because they lost so many people.
Yep.
But right now it's looking like their contract with Mahomes is one of the better contracts out there.
Well, that's
because he'll be cheaper.
And that's what Brady did for years. You know what I mean? But he saw that it would help.
Oh, I mean, the reason why Brady won all those championships is because they had a defense that could hang with anybody.
Yep.
So you have a defense that can hang with anybody, and you have a quarterback that is a once in a lifetime generational talent.
Yep.
Who has the work ethic that he had. You're gonna get some victories.
What you see, and I hate to say this, talking to a Jets fan, but the difference between Mahomes and what's his name from Green Bay?
Rodgers
is always making a mountain out of a molehill. He's always controversial, and you know that makes it difficult. People, Devontae Adams says, "I'm out of here." You know what I mean? His cast of characters changes.
Well, and
yearly,
and I think his cast of characters changes yearly, and you're right. Like Mahomes, it seems like he just goes in and he's gonna say the thing that he needs to say. He's gonna because in the public eye, just say what you got to say, and then go back and do the work, which is what Mahomes does. But when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, who right now is like in the midst of having a meeting, he's coming. First of all, he just got out of the darkness retreat.
I didn't know if they met in the dark.
No, they should have. They should have, where they just felt each other's faces and tried to see if they were being genuine.
I think it's Bill Belichick in the dark. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I think with Aaron Rodgers, it's funny because we were gonna get to him, and it doesn't. The Jets want him because he's Aaron Rodgers, but it's so weird to me because just like Brett Favre, it's like all of a sudden, the Green Bay Packers have these really, really great quarterbacks who reach the end of their career with them, and their relationship is just withered away, and it's so depleted that they have to go to the Jets, which dire straits. You go into the Jets, it's dire straits.
Well, I think the Jets have a pretty good team.
They have a good team.
And they have a lot of young people, and I like their coaches.
But do you see him as the guy, because there's no sports media market.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe it's like Boston and New York are the media market where the guy who is anti-media everything.
I know, he plays in Green Bay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he plays in a little bubble.
And they all love him, you know what I mean?
Well, I think at this point they probably are sick of him, but he's going to go to the Jets and deal with that.
I know.
I don't necessarily see that happening.
And what are they going to give up? Do they have a lot of draft picks this year?
I think so. They got a squad.
I know.
They just
maybe they have the draft picks because, in my opinion, it's time for Green Bay to cut bait.
Well, they need to give this kid.
We're done.
They need to give the kid Jordan Love, who's been sitting there
for 5 years.
5 years behind.
But isn't that the Jimmy Garoppolo theory too? You're not going to take my job. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm going to give it to you when I leave.
And it's funny because Aaron Rodgers kind of complained about the same thing when it came to Brett Favre. And he's like, he didn't really help me out,
Yeah.
He didn't help me out. I had to do it all on my own. Oh, man, And then when this Jordan Love kid comes in, it's the exact same thing. And when you look at like certain, well, even if we go back to the Chiefs, Alex Smith was there. They drafted Mahomes. Alex Smith went out of his way to be a nice person.
Well, Alex Smith is really a hero. I mean, in a lot of ways.
He's a wonderful person.
What he did on the field, he's a wonderful person. I mean, he was the number one pick.
Yeah.
One day a long time ago. I guess maybe it happened because of his injury. He became more empathetic.
Yeah, maybe.
More of a team. I don't think so.
I think he just.
I think he was that
way.
before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he knew as soon as they could pick Mahomes
that it was not likely that he's going to be around. He's going to be around,
but and that's what he got out of it. He got a great reputation.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the reputation. So right now, it's with the whole Aaron Rodgers saga. It's yes, this is a MVP Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he is also a huge drama queen.
But getting back to Lamar Jackson, where do you think he's going to go? What do you think is going to happen?
Honestly, I don't think anybody's going to want to pick him up.
Like Washington said that they're out.
Yeah, because nobody wants to pay him that much money. He's not worth that much money.
I think the Patriots are just trying to be a pain in the neck to Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I don't think they really want to go down that road. That's going to change their entire offense. They just brought Billy O'Brien in.
I honestly, it would be weird though, but I could see like if it doesn't work out with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm like, I would go there. I would play for that squad because they have a really, really good team.
Yep.
Their offense is a run-heavy offense.
Yep.
And if he gets involved in that, I think he would be really, really well suited to that. It's just another thing. Like with him, he thinks of himself so highly.
Yeah.
And he's expecting this big, big thing. But the way he ended last season was not great.
No.
And so for future teammates, do you want that guy?
But it's been a couple of years in a row now that it hasn't looked good at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They're really piling on Baltimore too. Like their strength and conditioning, they say, is the worst in football.
Yeah.
And people like the guy that's the linebacker for the Patriots, what's his name, to get all the sacks. Anyways, he came out and said that the strength and conditioning when he was in Baltimore was the worst. It was worse than when he was in college. It was really, really bad. Man. They're kind of piling on Baltimore now. And I always thought that they were a pretty tough, well-coached
That's what I thought. I mean,
organization.
Team, yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody piles on when
things are looking bad. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you see him going back there?
I mean, it's gonna be so awkward because they didn't even give him. They gave him like on the low side. They gave him the franchise tag that says, if it was exclusive, we'd give you all this money and we'd want you. We want you. This one's like, we got you. We're not paying all this money for you. We'll give you $35 million or $38 million for a year for this year.
I've heard Carolina. I've heard Detroit would trade Goff, but I don't really see that. They're set up to be a short passing team now.
Yeah.
And they would have to just change their whole way of thinking.
In Carolina, who did they just get? Didn't they just get?
No, they had the guy that used to be with the Jets.
Donald. But didn't they have Baker? Don't they have Baker now?
Yeah, they do have Baker. And the coach that did so well at the end of the year, they got rid of.
Of course.
And they got, what's his name, that was with Indianapolis, Frank Wright.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and Frank Wright went into this thinking that, okay, this is what I got. Lamar Jackson is going to change that all too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's.
I mean, I love watching Lamar Jackson play. I just don't. Every time I watch him play, I think, when is it coming? What injury is going to come just because of the way he plays?
Who is the quarterback now in Atlanta?
Oh, it's like some new dude.
So I mean, maybe Atlanta.
Maybe there, but it's not. Yeah, he could go to Atlanta, but it's not. It's not.
I've also heard Miami.
Oh well, we'll see how long Tua can stick around. He's constantly injured. His poor brain. He needs to stop playing football.
I know, but I mean, Miami, they have the coaching staff for it.
They got players. They got skilled
and they
players.
got players. I mean, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be
That would be a big move, though.
It would be.
It'd be a big move. I wonder if you could trade Tua. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. For me, the bigger story, because Lamar, it's interesting, but I'm very excited to see where Aaron Rodgers goes.
Yeah.
Just because wherever he goes, it's gonna be drama.
Is there anybody else? I mean,
the Raiders were there, but they got. But I think they're out of it. I think they don't necessarily want him anymore.
They say they're trying to get Mac Jones. That's what they're saying. And I don't know if that's true. I think that, well, you never know how it's all going to play out. When is free agency start? Pretty soon, right?
Yeah.
Next week?
30, yeah, I think it's.
And then the draft is in a couple of weeks, right?
Yep.
Mid-April.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Football's always.
It's always looming.
It's always looming, you know?
All right. So I guess we can get into the NBA.
Sure.
And, well, first, before we go into the teams.
Yep.
Do we want to talk about Ja?
Sure. I know you want to talk about it. I read a little bit about it, but I don't know too much about it. But it sounds kind of. There's rumor now that he's been suspended for like 50 games.
50?
Well, that's a rumor.
I saw that he's at least another 4 games. He's not coming back.
Is he suspended by the team or is he just staying away?
I think it's the team.
So the league really hasn't said anything.
Not yet.
Okay.
And but it's just so weird. This is one of those things where
So why don't you? So everybody knows what.
So
happened.
If you don't know, Ja Morant, who is one of the star players for the Memphis Grizzlies, in recent weeks, well, last week, was on Instagram Live after a game at a club with a gun, dangling a gun around, because that's how you hold guns, is you dangle them
like this.
Loosely, and just so that they can fall and fire off somewhere. And so now the question is this guy, who is awesome, he is awesome to watch basketball, is he okay in the head? Because right now he's making like a really bad decision. Yeah. He's like living this like thug life and that gangster mentality that was like popular back in like the 90s and maybe the early 2000s. But he's wealthy beyond anybody else's imagination, and yet he said to himself, I got to find better ways, as in his public statement that he released, I need to find better ways to relax. And I didn't know that hitting up the club with a gun is relaxing.
Yeah.
So he needs to figure out what the word relaxing means first, and then he can kind of move on.
Can I ask you a question? How old is he? Is he like 20?
Oh, he's like 24. He's so young.
24, so he's pretty young.
He's so young.
And I believe his father played at least college ball.
Yeah, his father has also been because his father, is often on the sidelines, causing a stir, getting into fight with people like Shannon Sharp and other people, and his father seems almost as immature as him. They're like brothers, if anything.
Well, because Memphis, just looking at them, they all look like they're about within 2 years of each other. They're all young,
very, very young.
And they're all
no one above 30 on that.
They're
team.
all feisty, and they're all good. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, this is quite. But they got to be controlled.
They need a veteran.
They need some veteran leadership, and I'm not sure about the coach very much.
I can't remember his name, but he is a good coach. It's a very, very good team. They're just so young, but it's wild to think that, you need a veteran to say, hey, young buck, maybe not go to the club every night and wave. And it's what's wild in this scenario is that it wasn't as if TMZ was there. It wasn't as if one of his friends from his inner circle was. Yeah, he posted this.
Yeah.
So that shows you that something is not right. And in recent weeks, he was also gotten in trouble for pointing a laser at the Pacers bus as they're leaving, which is a threatening thing. A laser is what you would associate with a gun.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like I just don't understand, because if I'm an NBA player, I'm keeping a lot of things low key. I'm doing whatever weird stuff I want to do low key, and I'm not showing off in a world right now where obviously guns are super controversial. People are dying from gun violence all the time. In Memphis.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
And just because you're Ja Morant doesn't mean that they're not that police wouldn't come after you, that people who are actually gang members would come after you.
Yeah.
There are people out there you got to watch out for.
So remember that Paul Pierce was rescued from all of that.
Yeah.
He got shot. And he was hanging around clubs with guns.
Well, it's funny because Paul Pierce is hanging around. He still does
I know.
odd stuff.
But he was on the verge of being gone. Mm-hmm. And it was Doc Rivers first came in and said, enough. You got to stop this.
Yeah.
And then when KG got there, we know who everything got shut down.
Yeah.
We're playing basketball as what we're doing, But and that's a presence by a coach, an organization, and then other players that are going to help these. They really need. I don't know who it is. They really need some help in that respect.
They do.
I don't know. They've fallen. I was looking at they were second. Mm-hmm. Now they're like fifth.
Yeah. They started off really, really strong, and then it's a deterioration of good choices on Ja Morant's part that are, especially now, are going to have a greater impact on the team because you're not even around to play. And it's wild because it's seeing Ja, who's so young, get into trouble like this it's wild because there's also a story recently about Kemp, who played for the Supersonics.
Yes, yeah.
And he has been arrested because he was involved, which seems to be involved, allegedly, in a drive-by shooting.
Well, Sean Kemp has always been.
He's been a rough rider for a long time.
Long time.
And so I'm not saying that the two people are they're so different in so many ways, but there is.
He's saying he's going down that road.
He's going down a road where you're like, what's important right now? Are you trying to play basketball for the rest of your life? Or are you trying to play gangster for the rest of your life? Because you can do all the stupid gangster stuff, but it's going to stop the thing that made you well known, which is basketball. Play basketball. It's a fun time.
Sean Kemp was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was fun to watch.
Could jump. I mean, he
through people.
And powerful. You know what I mean? One of the most powerful guys I've ever seen. And he just got heavier and slower and not really even, is he here today? Is he not coming? Is he, you know what I mean? In his career, even though he had stats.
Oh, he's one of the greats.
He could have been even better.
And so with Ja, it's like the same thing. Like, dude, what are you doing?
This is, in a lot of these guys' lives, this is a time, it's a line that they have to go the right way, or sometimes they don't go the right way.
And
that's where he's at.
It's unfortunate. I hope that he makes the right decision. I hope he says to himself, "Hey, Ja, what should I be doing? Should I be playing basketball or should I be playing gangster?"
And I hate to say it, but it is on the Memphis organization to build around him. You know what I mean? With
also reel in this kind of behavior, which is what they're trying to do, but obviously somebody hadn't been intervening soon enough because there's no. It's one thing to go to a club all the time. Like James Harden is known to essentially have a residency in whatever strip club is within a 50 block radius of wherever he plays.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do anything gangster related.
Yeah.
He's just at the strip club.
Yeah.
He just likes seeing butts. That's fine. I mean, at some point it's probably a bit much.
Yes.
you could probably just go to like Applebee's instead. But for Ja, it's like, come on, man. I really hope that he makes the right decision and understands that it's not cool to be a gangster. The people who are gangsters, like, Jay-Z, he was a gangster, but he used his gangsterness to get out of being a gangster. Yeah. And now he's a billionaire. Ja was never a gangster. Yeah. And so now he's got this money, and all of a sudden he's going to be like this gangster dude. It's ridiculous.
And I think that's not just thinking about it. You told me that he went to school in Memphis too, right?
Yeah.
So he's still home.
He still knows all the people. He
knows everybody. He's right down the street from his college where he went.
Maybe they should send him to Utah.
You know what I mean?
Go somewhere boring.
Well, so it remains to be seen what's going to happen with that. But.
Yeah. And it's right now in the midst of like the playoff push, which is what we can get into now, because it is I feel like the NBA in recent years, like the NFL, there's just so many teams that you think can win it, and there's no clear-cut favorite, in my opinion.
No, well, there's the East. There's a couple of teams. There's
the Bucks,
but I think the Bucks are really good, and they have gotten a lot of players now.
Mm-hmm.
They got there's a guy that used to be on Utah that's there, and then they got Crowder.
Middleton,
you know what I mean?
Well.
They have. That's the thing. Same thing with the Celtics now. They're 13 guys deep now. I mean, legit. There's a legit 12 or 13 guys that could be playing on these teams. It's not 8. It's not that rotation of 8.
No,
like
it's not, and it's not just the 1 or 2 superstars.
No,
it's like we have a squad. They work well together. They play, and everybody carries their weight.
So there's them, and you have to say that Philadelphia and James Harden are better. Maxi's coming around.
Yeah, they're a team that always
fill the void. Doc Rivers is there, who was always trying to push the right buttons.
Yeah.
So I think that they're good, and then the Knicks. Have definitely taken a huge stride, and
they're a big surprise.
They're a force, you know what I mean. And they have a lot of guys that can play, but they also are playing defense, and it's great. And even the Nets, you know what I mean. The Nets,
even despite losing,
the teams that have fallen off, as Atlanta has fallen off, seems like a little bit.
Yeah.
They fired what's his name? Their coach. They just fired.
And which is weird. They're right there.
No,
Herm Edwards.
Sorry. I can't think of his name. But they fired their coach, so Atlanta is kind of fading. I don't know who would be in the play-in game on that.
Well, right now the Hawks are in the 8th seed, and so they're followed by the Raptors and the Wizards, which is the Wizards is a surprise. Honestly, that's a surprise.
And I would say that the Heat just aren't.
The Heat are always around though.
And they could
make a run. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when you look at all these teams, you look at the Bucks, the Celtics, the 76ers, the Cavs, the Knicks, Nets, Heat, and Hawks. They're all really, really like formidable teams.
Yep.
And that's why the East. I mean, I think the Bucks. I think it'll end up being the Bucks and the Celtics kind of bashing heads in the conference finals. But no matter what, they're going to have to go through a very difficult 76ers
team.
And
I would say that. I wouldn't be surprised very much if the Knicks or the Cavaliers took somebody to 7 games or even
took them out.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That could happen. Then you go to the West, and Denver is like 5 or 6 games ahead.
They're 7 games ahead. They have they're 46 and 20, and the Nuggets always surprise me.
Yeah.
because they just kind of,
I know.
Jokic and Murray and this squad, like
I know.
Jokic is such an odd player.
When
So-
I watch them play, I'm like, they just don't wow me that much. You know what I mean?
but they obviously
I
do
like
something.
what's his name, the big kid that they got from Orlando. He's their power forward.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, he's really good, but once again, they have a pretty deep bench. You know what I mean?
Well, it's wild how many good players there are in the league.
And then there's the Kings.
Yeah.
Sabonis, you know what I mean? And Darren Fox,
too,
and they got rid of Buddy Hield, didn't they? He's
Mhm.
on the Pacers now.
But they're tied with the Grizzlies, and that's why this is all so important. All these games right now, because of how close everything is.
The team that I think is going to burn out is the Suns.
You think they're gonna? Well, really, after yesterday's Kevin Durant weirdness injury.
How many times have you seen crazy things happen to what's his name, the point guard there?
Yeah, Paul. Yeah,
yeah. He never gets over the hump. He always
I know. I root for him too.
And now what's his name seems to get hurt every year now. Kevin Durant, you know what I mean? So I don't know. The Warriors, who knows? They say that they're still fighting.
They're in fifth.
But no, they're still fighting amongst each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they came out the other day that remember they had the punch thrown earlier.
Still
hasn't mended. And
oh my God, Draymond! It's Draymond Green.
Yeah.
Anytime you're dealing with Draymond Green, you're dealing with some kind of nonsense.
And the Clippers have all these great guys, but
now they got Russell Westbrook, and we'll see how that goes.
How many guys?
It's a team that's weird because they've kind of faded away. Kawhi Leonard, one of the great players in the league, kind of not really
Paul,
doing much.
You know what I mean?
Playoff P, as they call him.
I don't know.
But I also think it's fun because, we're in that position where Kyrie has been traded over to the Mavericks.
Then you have the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
are in it.
Yeah,
and then the Mavericks with Luka and
Luka and Kyrie, which equals no defense. There's no way. Like if Kyrie tried to play on the Knicks, his head would explode.
And then you have the Lakers, and now that LeBron has the record, he's just taking it easy.
Is that what you think? You think LeBron didn't actually hurt himself on that play?
I don't know. All I know is the day after the play, he went to the Grammys?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was fine. He was dancing. And then the next day.
But he's got a playoff push. There's no way that he wants to miss these games. But, it's Anthony Davis has stepped up since he's been gone.
Yeah.
And so I think
they made a couple of good trades.
I think what needs to happen with LeBron for the rest of his career is that he needs to start playing now as a power forward. Like just go play as a power forward. I know he's still dominant, but I don't think he can be the best player on your team.
Well, he wants the ball on the wing.
I know that's the problem, though. That's the problem.
I mean? And I would say that he's only getting 60% of the calls now.
Yeah.
Instead of 90 like he used to.
It's time. It's getting close to time for LeBron to be gone.
So I think it's going to be really interesting. I think, what do they got, about 20 games left?
Yeah. This is the playoff push. It's going to be super fun. This is when I really like to get into basketball.
Yeah.
Because it's every game. It's basically the playoffs now.
I know.
Because every game will matter.
Well, I turn it on and my wife says, whoa. She looks at the three letters of each team. Who are these people, and why are you watching this? This isn't even who we care about. And I'm like, well, it kind of matters.
Yeah, everything's starting to matter now. I'm telling you right now, watching the Knicks beat the Celtics the other day, it goes to show you that there is a lot.
Well,
what's the excuse?
The Celtics, there is an excuse, and it's bad, in my opinion, because they jack up threes, and that's all great. But
when you miss them,
it's the seventh game, and you're playing the Knicks.
And
all of a sudden, air ball, and you lose a 20-point lead.
Yeah.
Because you're just throwing up air balls.
Well, that's the league now. The league is throw up some threes.
I like how they shoot threes. I mean, it's good when somebody's on. but it's cutting and getting to the basket. It
It's off-ball movement.
creates the open shots. You just can't go up to the top of the key and dribble 12 times.
No.
And then try to find a screen and jack it up.
Well, that's basically all it is. It's like get your pick and roll, go off that, and hopefully somebody who's covering the guy on the wing dives at you and then you kick it out.
Both Tatum and Brown tend to do that.
Yeah. Well, they get dribble happy.
You know what I mean? You got to move it. You know what I mean? That's when I think it should be out of their hands, and it should be in either Smart's or Malcolm Brogdon or even White's hands to start the play.
And then they can get the ball.
Then they can get the ball, or they can get the matchup that they want and then make it work. They are not infallible.
No,
they really are not. Right now, in my opinion, I would definitely pick Milwaukee over them.
Yeah.
Because Milwaukee has gotten deeper and deeper. They're healthy. I don't know how healthy Chris Middleton is. But they have other people now.
Yeah, and they've played without him for a while. So.
And it looks like they're probably going to get home court.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, at that, we will say goodbye, and we will see you next time on another episode of the Unnamed Sports Podcast. Well, that was terrible. So we'll see you next time.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Thanks. See ya.